I'm going to talk to you a little bit about an experience that I had yesterday. During the day, I had let my chickens out, and something happened. I believe it was a neighbor's cat. I'm 99% sure supposedly the neighbor's cat, kind of a halfway feral cat, gray cat, came into my yard while my chickens were out and attacked one of my hens. Now I have a rooster. He's a golden laced Wyandotte, and this is the color of his feathers, and his name is Moose. Moose, as soon as I found out that he was a Wyandotte, I looked up the name Wyandotte. I wanted to know, more about it. And they are a people who came down, a Native American people who came down from Ohio. And there was a man, full-blooded Wyandotte, from the history that I've read, was the last of his kind, of his bloodline, to leave Ohio and come down into Kansas. I live in Wyandotte now. And this rooster that came into my life, was a surprise from McMurray Hatchery. And I didn't know what kind of chicken he was, and I just watched him and looked on the internet, compared pictures, and we finally, deduced that he was a golden laced Wyandotte. He's absolutely beautiful. He's so gorgeous. Anyway, I've had chickens before, and I've never really paid that much attention to the chicken behaviors. I know, that the rooster rules the roost, and that they have a pecking order, and they have to be about 22 weeks old before they start laying, and you have to have a rooster in order to produce fertilized eggs. Otherwise, you just get eggs that have no babies in them, blah, 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 blah. But I never really paid attention to the chicken behaviors, other than dirt baths and things. With this batch of chickens, this little flock, I've really been watching them. I've had a lot of time to spend with them. And I've watched Moose grow into a rooster and start crowing and start displaying his behavior. And one of the things that he does, and he does it very well, he's at the top of the line. In other words, when I open up the door to the coop and they start down that ladder, Moose is always in front. He comes down first and he checks around, and the other chickens, the hens, and the other rooster stay on the ladder until Moose has decided it's okay to come down. And then he pecks at everybody to keep them away from danger, things like that. The hens could be pecking around the yard and just going about their business, and Moose will be the one looking up. He's always looking up, and he's always looking around. And if a hen starts to get too far away or in a direction he doesn't want them, he does a little dance. He puts his wing on the ground and he dances. You might picture, if you've ever been to a Native American powwow, and when they do that certain move, to me it just says rooster all over it now that I actually put the two together. And it's a very, it's controlling, they're controlling the rooster, but he's also protecting his hens. And so I've always wanted a dream catcher, and a store I used to work in was going out of business, and I got a dream catcher for half price. Brought it home and changed out the feathers. I think I show it in a mini haul video. Anyway, I had to decide which feathers I wanted to use. I could use Lou's, or I could use one of my Buff Orpingtons, or I could use Rhode Island Red, or I could use Moose's feathers. Lou had beautiful black and white feathers, and Moose has these orange and black feathers. Well, something just guided me to put the Moose's feathers in that dream catcher. And so my experience last night was remarkable. I've never had a dream catcher above my bed before. This is the first time. I've had it in the house for a few days, but it was just hanging up, waiting for me to work on it and change out the feathers. And this was the first night I ever slept under it. And in the night, I started to dream. And it was a very vivid dream. And I could hear drums. And I could hear a chanting of people. And I could feel a fire. And after a while, the drum beat and the chanting started to move me spiritually, and I started to move around the fire. And I was really enjoying myself. But as I was moving around, this is the part that gives me chills, something bad would reach out and try to grab me. And a wing would come down and shield me from this bad thing. And it would shrink back into the darkness. And I was a little startled by it. But once again, the chanting and the drums moved me into moving around the fire again and moving and feeling one with the people and the drum beat. And it was just taking me in and taking me up spiritually. And then something bad would reach out for me. And again, it would startle me and shock me. And again, the wing would come down and it would shield me from this bad thing and push me back and keep this bad thing from getting to me. And it happened several times over and over. Now, normally if I have a bad dream, I'll wake up from it and just be like shocked and shake it off and tell people about it or whatever. But this wasn't a bad dream. This was a dream about a totem animal and the spirit of an animal. And that is the message that the dream gave me. Not only was the dream catcher, not only was it about the Wyandotte people, not only was it just about the roosters, it was about connecting with an animal on a spiritual plane and in a spiritual way that I've always wanted to know, do I have a totem animal? Do I have a spirit animal? I've always thought, it'd be cool if it was a black panther, and I've tried meditation, I've tried other things. I always would have a preconceived idea in my mind what my spirit animals were going to be or my totem animals were going to be. Never in my wildest dreams, no pun intended, did I ever expect a totem animal to be a rooster. But after that experience last night, and you can call it whatever you want. You could say, if you're a Christian, you'd probably say, well, it was an angel. An angel's wing was protecting you. This was an animal. This was a basic feeling of connection with an animal like I have never felt spiritually connected before. And I knew when I woke up, I knew that that spirit animal had touched me in such a way that I could go throughout my day and nothing bad was going to touch me. Nothing bad can touch me. It can't get to me. I've got a spirit animal. I've got a totem animal watching over me, and that wing is always going to protect me. Now, I'm not going to go out and walk in front of a bus or an oncoming train or something stupid like that. I mean, that's ridiculous. But as soon as I can recognize something bad, I just feel like I'm going to be sheltered. I'm protected because I've had this experience and I've had this spiritual connection with this animal, a totem animal, a spirit animal. And then Native Americans, I've read where they say that 9 animals will come to you throughout your life and touch you in such a way. And I've been touched by dogs and horses and cats especially, and birds, but never on this level. Never have I ever felt like I was on their level and they were on my level at the same time, and we just had a spiritual connection. So if anybody thinks about getting a dream catcher and putting it above your bed, my advice would be to treat it as something sacred, and the feathers should actually mean something to you. If you've been out walking and you've collected feathers or something, and just think about that animal that it came from, and think about that animal in a spiritual way, and see if you don't make the same kind of connection, because I know I have. I will never think of a spirit or totem animal in the same way again. And I look at moose in a different light now. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to say. I don't want to keep you too long. Okay.